Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. We appreciate your attendance, so thank you so much for coming. My name is Chris Skipper. I'm the department head here at the West Campus Library. And before I introduce our speaker, I thought I would just provide a little background for today's event. This is the second in what we hope will be a series. In the fall of last year, we had a similar event, this time to discuss a so-called dangerous book. This book was Mein Kampf. For those of you who were here, I recognize a few faces. Controversy had arisen when that book was included in a library display, so we invited Professor Carl Michael Kropczyk to talk about that book and its appropriate place in higher education. So libraries across the world are full of so-called dangerous books, and the world is full of the dangerous ideas that they represent. Sadly, the world is well acquainted with the acts of persecution, violence, and terror that are motivated by religion. Our speaker today is personally acquainted with some of these issues. We've invited Edip Yuksel to share with us his experiences related to religion and society and how these issues might appropriately be considered by higher education. Edip Yuksel is an American, Turkish, Kurdish author, lawyer, philosopher, inventor, and peace activist who has spent over 4 years in prison in the 1980s for promoting a Sunni revolution in Turkey. Edip experienced a paradigm change, leading him to reject his Sunni religion. Through the second volume of his book, Interesting Questions, he publicly rejected his best-selling books, which promoted Sunni theocracy. He then was rejected by his father, a prominent Sunni scholar, and then was excommunicated. Multiple fatwas declared him a heretic and apostate, making him a target for assassination. He emigrated to the United States in 1989 to escape from religious and political oppression. After receiving his bachelor's degrees from the University of Arizona in philosophy and NES, Edip received his law degree from the same university. Besides writing and lecturing, Edip works as an adjunct professor here at Pima. He's an author of more than 30 books in both Turkish and English on religion, politics, philosophy, and law. So we'll have remarks from Edip, followed by a period of question and answers. So please join me in welcoming Edip Yuksel.
Okay. Gosh. A few days ago, I wanted to go out for a walk, and I told my wife, we have been married for 30 years, a Persian lady. I said, I want to go for a walk. She said, should I join you? Once in a while, we go together. And first time I said no. And then she wondered, you never say no. I said, my mind is busy. And says, your mind is busy. It is good for you, go. And then what is kind of bothering you? I said, I want to save the world, something like that. And then she said, save your wife, dummy. And then, well, it was a good lesson. And since childhood, I was raised in the center of Turkish politics. My father was top clergyman, and almost all political parties, their leaders, and my uncle also side, my mother's side, they were prominent in Turkey. Once I remember 2 of my uncles, sometimes 3 of my uncles from different cities, they would make it to the Congress. Therefore, I was raised in the center of religious and political debates. And when I was a child, I remember middle school kid, people would come, the editor of this newspaper or the leader of this group or order, and my father would allow me to participate in discussions. He was a religious clergyman, but he had some idiosyncrasy, did not fit to others, and he was spoiling me. The spoiling was allowing me to enter discussions. And I remember I was kind of, without just looking at who is this guy, what is the age, what is the title, I would enter. Therefore, it was one of the best self-confidence and education for me. My father prepared me in that young age. And Turkey is, by the way, just I want to come today. Today's Turkish leader, Tayyip Erdogan, or the former prime ministers, they were all my friends. We're both from family, from school, and also from party early years. I became the leader of youth organization. We had about 1 million members that time. And that time, in fact, the Turkish president, he's dictator now, he was below me. Go back to youth. My mother, when we immigrated from town, eastern town, my father was already made name for himself in his old school studying, and he wanted to move to Istanbul. We moved to Istanbul, Kurdish my first language. It was difficult at 3rd grade to learn Turkish and also to get certain self-confidence. And my mother, after when they came to Istanbul, joined us. My mother was the only, I remember, only person in Istanbul, Fatih, at least I remember, that had veil on her face. She would wear burqa, it was called burqa, chadur, whatever you call it, the black one, but she would cover her face too. It would really bother me because she would be the point of attention. You don't want to get attention. Now you are the whole, everyone is looking at you. And I remember once I told her, you are a married lady with a kid like me. No one will look at you, don't worry. And she wouldn't, because she had accepted her prison as her safety. She didn't have any other world. She wouldn't see the sun except in our balcony if she got off the balcony, but outside she didn't have. And this is how I was raised. We don't have a single family picture. My father and all other kids mothered together, never. We don't have a picture. We never went to a restaurant together, had a dinner or anything together. And it was always separate. And my father would go, and it was kind of separation of, as if she was an alien. She had some of very few friends, and she didn't know Turkish. She was illiterate. My father was very astute. He was teaching at the university, and he was, but my mother just the opposite end. But she was the daughter of the great sheikh, very famous in Turkey, and they kept their girls, daughters, illiterate, absolutely. And she suffered greatly because she couldn't communicate Turkish. She didn't have much ways to learn. And she, after so many years, I remember 20 years, she would mixture of Turkish and Kurdish, and we call it Turklish or Kurdish, something Turkish, yes, Turkish, the combination of both. And then in early year, my father sent me to a parochial school, Imam Hatip School. Imam Hatip School is what 7-year school after elementary school. We had all sorts of classes, all the classes in normal middle school and high schools, from mathematics to science classes, from philosophy to astronomy, very heavy. We didn't have Saturdays. Saturdays we had also education. From morning until late evening, we would study like cows. In Turkish we say cow. In English you say nerds. I was a complete nerd. And yeah, 7 years school. That school, 1 year I failed the first year. Not because of my intelligence, just because of my language still was not complete, and also something else. I hated memorization, and there was a lot of memorization. Every year I had to take summer classes from Quran because I didn't memorize. I hated memorization. They would ask us to memorize about 20 pages every year. Oh my God, it was the torture in my life. And therefore I had to memorize summertime. They would mess up my summer. Guess what? I ended up at this age a guy who translated the Quran into 2 languages. Of course, a very different translation of the Quran I have in English Quran. I brought some of them for you. Quran, a reformist translation. Also, Turkish translation has been around for about 30 years in Turkey. It is, despite all the negative and propaganda and threats, it has been best-selling. It has been printed 17, 18 times so far. Now, I know it is a very short time. I need to share with you something, maybe show you some of the pictures I put together. I am the last-minute person. I am the last-minute person. In fact, my doctorate thesis in law, it was the last minute, I say therefore. But this one, I put a bunch of pictures. I wanted to sort them, separate some of them, but I will go very fast. Well, this is where, this was me, this handsome little boy. This is my cousin, this is my uncle, and let me see, this is my father. My father was this. This was Summer Haven. In Winter Haven, we had much decent homes. But when Summer Haven we would go, it was beautiful, mountainous things. There was cold water and basically huts made of this kind of rocks. And this is my sister, and she died, but she was brilliant. In a very young age, she subscribed when she didn't even go to high school. When I was in middle school, she subscribed to Science and Technology magazine. I know it's the first issue, because that it prompted me to turn one room in our home while I was in middle school to a laboratory, science laboratory. Together with my younger brother, we'd do all sorts of machines, generator, motors from scratch. I didn't have resources, I didn't know how, there was no internet. I would carve from wood and get iron and bend it and roll around it, cable, and put it in plug and break the fuse and stuff and make my own, how do you say, magnet and motors and generator. And even that time I was able, together with my brother, make a projection machine. Projection machine. The spool was so difficult because the spool needs to stop every frame in front of the lens every 1/18th of a second. And therefore it needed to precise from wood how we were cutting, trying to make it, and failing and make it. Finally we made it. Why? Because my father would not allow us to go watch movies. The neighborhoods would go to movies, theaters, and it was prohibited. At that time there was no TV. I'm talking about 1960s. Anyway, and therefore it was first starting into engineering and stuff, and years later now we have a startup in technology with my kids. Yeah, I know I'm jumping. This is my father, and okay, these are some of the younger. This is prison one. This Middle East Technical University stuff. I'm coming to my books. This is what in graduation from high school they wrote about me. And later in books against me, when they wrote books critical of me, one of the authors put this one, the first page of her book, critical of me. And here is, in fact, says, everything is terrible in Edip. Reason, ideas, intellect, and logic. But reason, common sense is not as much. But Edip is critical of everything. As close friends, I am tired of his criticism and questions. It shows that even that time, as a questionable person, but what led me became heretic leaving my country. And I'm going back there. This is my sister. I was able to bring her to New Jersey. She's now married in New Jersey. She's so happy to be in this country. This is my older sister, younger sister. This is while I was in Middle East Technical University, first year student. And there, this is my younger brother, Metin, the middle one. He is a legend in Turkey. He was killed at age 20. At age 15, he was involved in politics because of my father. And then at age 17, he became the leader of the youth organization, Akıncılar, which today's president of Turkey comes from that. And then at 19, he became leader, national leader, legend. And at 20, he was killed. And still they celebrate. Recently, again, throughout Turkey, they celebrated his anniversary, 40-some anniversary. If you type his name, you see thousands of pages about him. And this was me, the happy guy, still happy I am. Okay. I was reading a book. This is a book, nonsense book. It's about economics of supposedly Islam. And this was me. Once I was aspiring to become a Muslim. I was a leader, but once in a while I would wear these clothes, thinking that wearing Arab attire has anything to do to become a good person. Has nothing to do. Has nothing to be with to be close to God. But this was the mindset I had. And this is one of my pictures, younger time. This is in 1980. I'm coming really about freedom of expression, how is important. This is my background. This was me. In 1980, I was the leader of youth organization. There was international conference organized by Turkish Ministry of Youth and Saudi Arabia's WAMI, World Assembly of Muslim Youth. From 42 countries, youth leaders gathered there, 2-year camp, prominent speakers, leaders, so-called scholars, they were there. And I had a beautiful, wonderful time there. And over there, I first heard about an idea, number 19. This guy was the leader in Egypt. The Egypt, Morsi, Morsi's friend. Recently, Morsi was killed by the military coup. But he was a Muslim Brotherhood, leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood, this guy. But he later, I think, he got better, but never really comparatively better. Okay. This is in prison, and then in 1980, after this conference, 1 week after this conference, there was military coup. I already had multiple arrests because I wanted to have a revolution in Turkey, but even that time, I was a peaceful guy. I didn't want the revolution be bloody or through guerrilla war. And in 1980, before this conference, I was invited to Iran. There was a revolution in Iran in 1979. Khomeini led people against Shah. The Shah regime collapsed. By the way, Shah regime was supported by the United States, by our government. In fact, Iranian people in 1953, they had Mossadegh, an elected person, pro his people. Shah had to escape. It was a bloodless democratic revolution in Iran. What happened? CIA, this now has been disclosed a few years ago. And CIA had military coup against this popular democratic government, Mossadegh, and toppled Mossadegh, brought back this dictator there. And therefore, you wonder why Iranian people are angry against, they don't like us, because we hurt them, terribly hurt them. And they ended up hurting themselves, because there is no opposition except the biggest opposition was the mullahs. There were multiple opposition, socialists, communists, and liberals, but mullahs, they were more organically connected and stronger and with more people power. Therefore, they won. And at that time, after the revolution, they secretly invited me as the representative of Turkish youth. And I wanted to import the revolution. They wanted to export their revolution. And for 2 weeks, I was in Tehran. I was 23 years old that time, but I was very experienced in my youth organization. That time there was no phone. With just a statement, I could collect anywhere in Istanbul thousands of people for protest for any event through that network thing. And I met top people there. My idea was just allow us to have radio station on the border so that we promote Islamic revolution in Turkey. There was Turkish military, very aggressive military against religion and religious symbols. That is another problem, lessons we can get. Yes, You don't want religion mixed with the government. That is horrible mixture. Horrible. Whenever throughout history it happens, it brings disaster, whether Christianity or Islam, any sort of religion. Because religion is in the realm of feelings. You feel whatever, anything you can feel. And sometimes good people, and there is a statement of by American astrophysicist, atheist. He says, there are good people and bad people, but it takes religion to turn a good person to a bad person. I would modify it, make it religion to ideology, dogma, because not only religious ideas, political ideologies, if they are dogmas, not questioned, if they are more emotional than intellectual, it causes a lot of problem in the society. Anyway, where am I? You don't. It is. I'm going very fast. That time I had that dogmatic nature, and then I wanted to have a radio station promote, but that time military was going extreme against religion, banning even headscarf. No. You don't do that. You don't do that. When you hurt their sacred, they consider sacred for no good reason, pragmatical reason, you create so much hostility, animosity, and you turn even the worst group as heroes. People that say worship onion. And then you government, you ban onion, or you chop onions in order to make them cry for their idols. Those onion worshippers, they become heroes in their mind. Even society feel bad for them. And they are treated as if they are great guys. They are idiots. They worship onion. But through oppression, you turn some very bad ideas, bad religions or ideas, to become an alternative power. The very vulnerability bring them together. And no more, the trouble in their ideas is no more an issue. It is not discussed. It is how they are oppressed by the government, how government is bad, that is the main issue. And then they will start manufacturing heroes and mythologies about themselves. And they come into power. Khomeini came into power because of that. He was not a great guy. He was a very kind of really uneducated, in some way stupid guy. When you read his books, you say, what? This guy led a country? Read a book. It's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. And sometimes disgusting. Why? Because government oppressed them, and that oppression itself became an issue. And then when they come to power, they became oppressor too. Because when they were oppressed, they were not really standing for universal justice. They were standing only for their own selfish things. And therefore, if you have a group of people just standing against oppression for their own self, only self, not caring about other groups, even their enemies, if they are for universal justice, even if their enemies are oppressed, they should be standing against oppression with their enemies. That is the thing. If they become power, they will be just powers. And the Turkish religious people, because they were selfish when they were oppressed, when they came to power, they continued their selfishness. Now they became oppressors. Okay, what time? I have how many minutes? I am coming to real issue. Okay, this is prison, and then I was after this. I was arrested 12 times, and then this 12th time was 12 September 1980, military coup. The night of the coup, they found me on the street, and the police look at my ID, say, "We were looking for you in the sky. We find you on the street," and that's it. And 1 year was torture. I was. Every day I was beaten by soldiers, every day. And my friends too, but I would get special menu of beating and insults in Turkish prison. How I survived, I tell in my books. I publish in Turkish right now. I'm getting ready for English. And it was mathematics and geometry. It was what saved me. And also my occupation with what the Quran I memorized, I hated, but in prison, that memorization, I would secretly write it down and keep me preoccupied and trying to find a formula for prime numbers And that was the one. I was beating, my body would be purple. It's called purple color? Okay. Purple, and come in and then get into mindset of finding the formula for prime numbers. I knew there was no formula. I said, well, we don't know until we find it. If there is over there, I should be seeking, and it was a wonderful journey. It would transport or teleport me to another universe. And I remember my prison mate, because so much oppression, so much beating, so much torture there, some of them would cut themselves, hit themselves to the wall. I still... Anyway, therefore, when I see people justifying torture, like the Bush administration, they justify torture. They are the worst people on earth, because anything that is not acceptable, if you put on the list, torture. Anyway, this was in prison I made, and this is right now, interestingly, this one right now is displayed in Ankara. The former prison in Ankara is turned into a museum by this government. In initial deal, this AKP government, Erdogan's government, this current dictator, a thief in chief, they opened that one as a museum, and the bed of authors and politicians, ministers, over there, their name and their picture and what was their crime. And I have also a bed there. Sometimes people go there, Edip, you have a bed. They take the picture of the bed and my picture, and this one is there. And my book, the reason I was there, it's also displayed there. But it is irony. I went to Turkey the last 5 times. 4 times I was detained at the airport by police. And if I go now already, there is more than 30 lawsuits against me for insulting president of Turkey, and his name, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, next to his name says victim. Victim. The biggest killer, murderer in Turkey right now, his name is victim, in 30 lawsuits against me. Therefore, if I go there, but still in the prison, there is a place for me, as if they were bragging, now we are not imprisoning authors, politicians anymore. They were bragging about they are making Turkey free, will join European Union, but after 10 years in government, turn 180-degree turn just the opposite. Now, right now, Turkey has more news reporters in prison than any other country. Tens of thousands of political prisoners in Turkey. Incredible injustice is done to Kurdish people under these people. This is irony. Okay, this is my first book that was 16th edition. This is me while in conference. I met this guy, and this is my second book, Turkish poetry in prison I wrote, and this is in prison. This is my book on Bible. This is my earlier, still I was Sunni. I was not transformed yet, but this is the first interesting questions first. And I was in military service. Oh gosh, what is this? The same things. Okay, this one, these books are dangerous. Reading books are dangerous. This is after I rejected the Sunni religion. This is one of the second book I published after this one. This book, what changed my situation. Yeah, first, I was hit by government vertically, 4 years in prison, torture, because I was critical of the government. I was naive, thinking that Islamic revolution will bring justice and freedom. It was my youth, and I was deceived, absolutely, by my parents, by the books I read. They were distorting what really religion was about. But later, when I rejected, this time by the people who considered me as hero, by my family, friends, all these things, they turned against me. And I wrote in the back of this book, I say, I said, I have changed. I am now in this book, I'm going to criticize my previous work. I no more share the same things. I could keep it for myself and keep writing the same books as a hypocrite, or criticize it and risk everything, including my life. I said I'm choosing the second. And this one, after this one, as this is the book I wrote, which is stolen. This made the news. This is just one of the news thing. And over there, they started writing against me. First, my father wrote articles. They published in the most popular magazine 2 articles against me. I wrote an answer response to my father, and they didn't. The same magazine did not publish it. And then I found another magazine. They published it. They wanted to keep me. They were hoping that I will return back to my fold. They were looking that I would be hero. I would be their leader. Tayyip Erdogan was below me in one of the events that I led. He joined me, for example, the Turkish dictator now, and we all were detained, 300 of us. The only one time that he was detained because he was following one of my events. And therefore, they wanted to keep me in the fold. And therefore, they thought, well, this is something will change. In fact, one of the authors wrote an article, well, Edip is young, perhaps he's not married. Look. He was making a Freudian analysis about me. Well, if he gets married, he will be fine. Has nothing to do. My criticism was solid based on your sources, your religion, the basic tenets of your religion, your history, and what you have in your shelves as holy books. And therefore, it took a while, but I decided to publish my articles together with their articles in one book, because they would not allow me. There was barrage of criticism. Those authors, initially, they were inspiring to be like me. I was a best-selling, and I had the longest line in any book fair that people want my signature. And therefore, but suddenly they turned against me. And therefore, I decided to publish myself. I had some money back in my pocket, and the publishing houses were threatened not to publish my books. The bookstores, gangs would go collect my books and threaten them not to sell my books. Therefore, I didn't have any access anywhere. And I did myself, but they stole it from printing house. The first 5,000 prints of Sakıncalı Yazılar. I think I wrote that book here. Let me see. Yeah, I have some of these books. This is my prison poetry, Sakıncalı Yazılar, this one. And the cover, you see, so simple because I had to do everything myself. I'm not that bad, but that time I didn't care really about cover. And then I decided to find another printing house out of this well-known Çağlıoğlu, the center of Istanbul. I found somewhere far away a printing house that they wouldn't have any network, any information from. I was able to print it without getting stolen. But to my surprise, I found out I cannot distribute it because there were only 3 major book distributors. None of them could dare distribute my book. I was under absolutely. There was death fatwas against me already. Here there is some, this is the cover of the top Turkish Nokta. And this is about Rashad Khalifa, my friend. He was the one really in Tucson, Arizona, helped me change my religion from Sunnism to monotheism. And he is killed. And then these are newspapers. This is my father. They are quoting my father and says Edip is heretic. And this is the top newspaper. Another one is, okay. Now, I want to stop here in 1 minute I'll summarize what is going on. What I learned, there are many walls around a thinking person. The first wall is you, your selfish interest can stop you from finding the truth, accepting the truth about yourself or about the world around you. We are raised with lies since childhood, correct? We are raised with the children's story. We say these are okay, good lies, correct? Cinderella, the pumpkin becomes cart, great. And Pinocchio, correct, with the nose. And that is also lie. Telling, not to tell lie, but telling us the stupid lie to tell us that we should not lie. Even that teaching is based on lie. Not to lie isn't based on lie. And then we say, okay, these are okay, no problem. You go to school, you read history. They are most sophisticated lies written by very paid, well-paid masters of lies. And then you go to church, mosque, and the synagogue, and any temple. Most of the things, they mix the truth with lies. The fanciest, the greatest lies, the better. People fall to it. And then you turn the TV, saying the leaders, the so-called great guys, they're all lies. They compete with each other to lie, politicians. Read books, fictions. They call fictions, but still our diet of lie continues with those fictions. We justify everything. And then movies, lies, even documentaries, certain based on truth. And even those are distorted. We are really live in a society full of lies. And therefore, truth sometimes, if it challenges our conformity, if it challenges our social relationship, if there is a price for the truth, many people do not care. But in fact, the real price of betraying the truth is much bigger than the price that you would pay for that. The price of opposing truth as a society, it accumulates, it ends up with major havocs in the society. We pay it all the time. The truth, well, we destroyed our world. We said, well, capitalism is great. Here we are producing, consumer more, cheap. This is the blessing, capitalism more. Correct? But what happened? We poisoned the air. Free market, we said. Don't regulate the companies, corporations. They are doing good things. You get so many things collect, fill even your home, and then suffocate, and then not enough place, get a storage, fill there, produce, pollute the air, pollute the oceans, pollute the land. Hello, what's going on? And eat more. The chicken, have you watched chicken? The chickens, how are raised? Incredible. Yes, we eat more chicken, which is not good for us. We think it is good for us. We are growing horizontally. And at the same time, we get a lot of poison through those chickens. And therefore, the price of ignoring the truth is major. We pay for it in our lives. We pay it as a society. And we hurt ourselves, ultimately. Therefore, I found that I have been trying. This is if there is something about me since childhood, I was saying whatever I think, and I'm saying now too. I have made 2 speeches in parliaments, one in European Parliament and the other in British Parliament. If you listen to those speeches, you won't hear those speeches any time, neither before or after in those. Perhaps they will never invite me again. And what I found, the truth is powerful, is beautiful. And therefore, Socrates was poisoned because those who built their power, their greed, their exploitation based on lies, they didn't like his awakening the youth with creating interest in seeking the truth. They killed him, they poisoned him. Jesus is the same. But Jesus, the real Jesus, is not the Jesus you are taught in churches. Absolutely is not. Far away. They distorted, they hijacked Jesus too. But Jesus in his time, he was a person for the truth, for justice, for freedom. And the same with Moses, the same with Muhammad, the same with Hypatia, this young woman who is a mathematician and philosopher. He said the truth the church did not like. They killed her barbarically. Many like this. Buddha, for the sake of the truth and justice, he left his mansion and he went among the people. I don't know what happened to him. Usually good things do not happen, because what I learned, majority of people are not really good. We want to, but majority of people, unfortunately, not righteous. Majority of people side with power. Therefore, if our government waves flags, majority of good people, without even thinking, yeah, let's go kill those bad people, because our government is always telling us the truth. And the other side, the good people on the other side, when their flag is waved, they also, the good people, good, and they just say, okay, let's kill those people, they are bad. But good people do not act on that. Good people cannot be ignorant. Good people cannot be cowards. I list cowardice as one of the top 3 evil. Cowardice. I don't have any excuse for cowardice. Cowards are the ones who help tyrants, who help pharaohs. Pharaohs and tyrants, evil people they built their empire, their power over these cowards. Some cowards are silent cowards. Some cowards become the vehicle, the supporters of tyrants. Therefore, I am hurt a lot by governments and by my people, even in this country, because of telling truth in many options. My options were canceled. Some of them I was told why it is canceled. No problem. I am the second happiest person on earth. Don't look at my face. I'm really happy. I have a wonderful life. And I am so, so grateful to God that opened the gate for this country, that I am free. I am not happy with many things this government does. I'm happy with some of the things. I call it American Janus. I have an article, several articles on this one. Let me just finish with this one and then get your questions. 19.org. I didn't change the Turkish keyboard. I learned that touch typing in Turkish system, F, it starts with letter F. You start with QWERTY. QWERTY is an old order. It was designed in order to slow down people when the typing machine, they were mechanical, they would get stuck. Therefore, to slow down people, they put the most frequent letters to the places where you had small pinky, to make it slower. Anyway, okay, here it is. And the American Janus you will see here. And you have here also some links about my speeches in certain universities and things if you are interested. But what is I am doing right now? I am promoting Islamic reform. And it is getting a good traction, especially in several countries, in Turkey, in Indonesia, in Kazakhstan, and in Europe and United States. But in some places it's in the undercurrent, but some places right now become very vocal in Turkey, for example. And also I am promoting United Peacemakers. I think United Nations is a failed organization. It served greatly. And nations coming together after 2 World Wars, but it doesn't have teeth, and also it is corrupted by the Security Council. Therefore, I think right now, everything what we need, it is there, internet, and the mind. And we people should unite ourselves. In every country, there is 30% peacemakers. In some countries, maybe 60% peacemakers. Even the worst country in North Korea, you will find, in Iran, you will find many peacemakers. These peacemakers should unite their voices, not nations, governments. Governments are the most corrupt, the worst representative of the people. because the worst people, they corrupt, they infect the government. Like military-industrial complex right now, they brought congressmen, and over there, in order to feed this bloody machine, they generate conflicts where the children of poor people go kill the children of the other poor people, while these monsters, they make bloody money, profits from this. Therefore, we need people around the world unite our voices, our hearts on common denominator. This planet is small, got much smaller. With what? With population. We have more population than ever. We have transportation. Air transportation is major. Millions of people travel every day. It's not like old times with camels. And we have communication through internet. You can communicate with anywhere in the world. There is trade, global trade already there. We are dependent on each other. This cellular phone that we have has many, numerous dozens of elements that they are all in different countries. We need those countries. We need each other. Even our diseases are right now mostly candidate to become pandemic and the diseases that contagious. It's not all times. We are not isolated with these so-called borders. Therefore, a disease in a country means tomorrow will be disease here. A trouble in a country, oppression, internal fight, war, tomorrow that means a byproduct terrorist organization will hit us. Therefore, we are more connected to each other than before. Therefore, we need to unite our voices. We are all in this spaceship. We are like astronauts in the spaceship. We share the same destiny. We have to see we are all human. We so much look alike. But evil people, politicians, wants to control us, religious leaders who wants together with them do certain tricks, and also big, filthy, greedy corporations who want to profit. They learn. They know that if they can divide us based on nations, based on religions, based on race, based on sex, they can easily control us. And therefore, we need to transcend these fake borders created among us so that we are used against each other so that they will be comfortable. Nope, we need to unite. Therefore, I am right now, this is my dream, and I'm working on that. But I am not an egomaniac, oh, I will do it. No, I want to be a small catalyst that I know even if I don't, in the future, this will be accomplished. I think that peacemakers should unite their voices regardless of the color, sex, religion, and national ground. And maybe we'll be able to have a peacemakers assembly somewhere, but all around the world, if in a country something bad happens, we all unite our forces economically, politically, in every way try to help peacemakers in that country. Thank you very much. Questions? I brought some books to give to 16. This is a reformist translation of the Quran. And the other books, most of them are available at academia.edu. And over there, let me show you just that one last, after19.org. Pima, academia.edu, and Edip, Yuksel. There are some, why cannot be reached? Because academia, there is I is missing, correct? Okay, here I have how many? I have 10 Turkish books, 6 English books. I will put more, but you will see they are there downloadable, and you will see the Quran, a reformist translation, and other book, Peacemaker's Guide to Warmongers. This is a conference at Oxford University we held. This is the papers of the conference, Critical Thinkers for Islamic Reform. But it is not only Islam. All religions need to be reformed, but beyond religion it is. It is really beyond religion. This is my small cause, but the other cause, we are all brothers and sisters. We should care about each other. We should care about this planet, about everything in this planet.
Do we have questions? So, oh, and incidentally, this presentation will be available on YouTube probably within a couple of weeks. And that's why we're using the microphone to capture everyone's questions.
Thank you. So you are outspoken against authoritarianism, and you have jokingly said to me before that you are 99% anarchist. Yes, 81%. I understand your disdain for authoritarian governments that are doing nothing to better the material conditions of its people. However, that I would argue that the state is not the problem, but rather a symptom of our society's many class antagonisms. What would you say to people like myself that would argue that an authoritarian government is necessary to solve these class antagonisms through radical wealth redistribution policies before we can move towards less authority?
Yeah, this is the argument of communists. I'm not saying in a political way to demonize. And in fact, I think Marx was describing communism is really description of heaven, is utopia, is to everyone according to their needs, from everyone according to their expertise, their talents. This is beautiful. But whether it is possible to do it in this world, that is the problem. We know that it is not possible. It is a good dream. But how we can reach to that dream, that should be our goal. But when you use the means force, like the dictatorship of the working people, proletariat, in order to bring about this peaceful society, paradise, we need initially a government to stop the corporations, the very greedy people to exploit people. We need a powerful government. This is absolutely a no-no, and we know that it doesn't happen. Because the mean by itself should not be the opposite. The very mean initially may start with very good intentions. A government of people, the first revolution when it is done, those who do the revolution initially, they really risk their lives. They risk their lives, they come into the government, they have all the good intention. But initially, they need maybe to be a little bit authoritarian in order, because it is a revolution. And then with time, they get more insensitive. They get used to the power. And then the second generation stuff, that power supposedly to dissolve power itself become corrupt. The Communist Party, both in Russia, in many other countries, in China, we see the example is exactly proving the opponents. It's not possible. You have to consider, always there will be people who are greedy. There will be always psychopaths. There will be always evil people, bad people. Always. I know some of you avoid using evil people, bad people, but unfortunately it's out there. And therefore we need to something to consider that. We cannot have something, you give it to them, full power, and then even they are angels. But the children of angels will not be angels all the time. Yes.
Other questions?
If my students do not have questions, I have two things. One, either you didn't understand anything, or you understood everything. What is going on?
Well, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So actually I have two questions, but what do you see as the future in Turkey for Erdogan?
Erdogan is only will increase his authority, his brutality. There is no other way, because this is a paradox of dictators. When dictators, they want to be, their ego is getting bigger and bigger. And they start having people praising them. And they like it. And they think they are even bigger than they are. The praiser will exaggerate their ideas, their thing. You are really great. You are the only leader in the world that thinks like that, does like that. And then with time, they will start having aversion against any critical ones. They will eliminate them. Slowly, gradually, after eliminating, he will be surrounded by people who will be echoing whatever they say. Basically, they weaken themselves. They become the only person. They will not see the world. In fact, the information about the country, negative news, will not brought to him in order not to make him upset, not to be fired by him. Therefore, he will be absolutely isolated from reality. He will be in delusional world until toppled. This is the paradox that they built for themselves this pyramid while they are building. At the same time, it is going to collapse. Yeah, it is no other way. Either will escape because he stole so much. He has a gang of thieves. And by the way, this guy exploited religion. He came, he says, he waved, I use this word, he waved Hazrat Omar's patchy clothes. Omar is the second caliph, is very famous in Muslim history that he was very just, extremely meticulous about justice. And he wouldn't even use government candle for his things. When it is nighttime, he would use his own candle. He had patchy clothes. He was the leader. And then he was talking about this one. But this guy, by these stories, he built himself the world's biggest mansion, the most luxurious mansion, 1,150 rooms, his mansion, compared to White House, 132 rooms. Compare the power of the United States, the population, the economy, the military power of the United States and Turkey, but Turkey is his mansion is much bigger than that. Yes, he will lose. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming.